we get to attack it after marriage.
The fear is run away from it because his frown becomes his critique.
A lot of spouses look for excuses to stay behind at the office.
I just like noise. I don't like it when it's quiet and all that. So I go ahead and look for his trouble.
Anything you come closer, the closer you become, the more you see blemishes, because blemishes are part of life.
Stay tuned for our feature presentation.
Hello. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I just remembered something. Something happened at work today.
Well done there.
But there, something happened at work today. Like, can you remember my boss? There, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you.
Má fẹ́ jù pa mí. Kí ló dé gan? Ṣóògùn láyé ni. Jọ̀ọ́ o.
Kí ni mo sọ? Kí ni mo tí sọ? Kí ni mo sọ gan? Kí ni mo sọ gan tó ṣì pọ̀ jù? A lè sọ̀rọ̀ mọ́, a lè ṣe kankan mọ́. Why is it difficult for you to listen to me again? Ẹnu mi ti wá ń rùn nìyẹn o. You're always busy with this laptop, pressing, writing. You don't even want to hear me talk. It's unfair. So should I be talking to myself?
Madam, abeg free me. Mi ò rojọ́.
Ẹnu mi ti ń rùn nìyẹn sí o.
You know this about me. Mi ò rojọ́ gangan jọ.
Àyìndé ẹnu mi ti ń rùn nìyẹn o. Ẹjọ́ tó máa ń fẹ́ gbọ́ tẹ́lẹ̀. It's unfair. It is wrong.
You're welcome. Last week, we were talking about naked and not ashamed. And the topic for today is just so appropriate, a transition to that. Today's topic is opposites attack. I know that what is the common thing, what is the common statement, which we said several times in the previous week, is that opposites attract. But it's quite interesting to note that what attracts before marriage usually gets to attack after marriage. Isn't that interesting? What attracts us before marriage, we get to attack it after marriage. So you see, when we talk about opposites attracting, so you see a person that is very jovial, extremely funny, has an amazing sense of humor. Which other better person to go with them than a person that loves and likes laughing to their jokes and their playfulness? And that's what attracted. In the days of singlehood, like I like to call it, that's what attracted. Before the responsibilities and the wear and tear and the hustle and bustle of life get involved, that's what attracts. But after marriage, you see, it attracts when you are getting just a dose of it from time to time, not when you are spending your whole lifetime with this person that just cracks jokes and makes fun of everything. So you know what begins to happen? You begin to resent that. Because it starts to look like, hey, is everything in your life a joke? Is everything? Don't you ever get serious? Is everything always a joke? So you begin to hammer that person on that. You keep hammering them on the fact that, hey, everything is a joke. You're always joking. You're never serious.
And that was what attracted him.
And that's what attracted in the first place. So you know what begins to happen? The person also begins to resent you because that is them. It's when they're in that state of being that they are alive. So they begin to resent you, and that's why a lot of spouses look for excuses to stay behind at the office.
Yes, sir.
And when they leave the office, even then they rather hang out with friends. They are afraid to come home. They just want to come home and sleep. Why? Because their greatest critic is at home, but their fans are outside.
All right, you're welcome once again. I'm sure you were blessed by what my husband just talked about. Opposites attack. And you see, the funny thing is, like you said, the thing that attracted you to that man in the first place, the excitement, the fact that he's either very serious or very jovial, the fact that he's always doing this or always doing that. When you get married, it seems as if that is the thing that you begin to repel. It looks as if that's one thing that begins to irritate you about your partner. But see, what I want to emphasize is the fact that if you attack him on that, the fear is he will run away from it because his fan becomes his critique. Somebody that is always celebrating him, someone that is always being his number one fan, now begins to criticize him on certain things. And that's why men run out of the house. That's why they wait and lie on traffic and they stay back in the office. And all they want to do at home, come home is sleep. Some of them don't even eat again. They just sleep. And even on weekends, they tell you they have board meeting. It's because their fan has become their critic. So please, when it comes to the issue of opposites attacking or attracting each other, we need to balance it. And you see, it goes both ways. Let me give you an example. So I personally, I talk a lot. Do I talk a lot?
You have said it. What we?
I love talking, right?
Yes.
My husband, on the other hand, is calm, cool, calm, and collected. You can even see that he's very. By the time I say 10 sentences, I've just said one or two. But when it comes to preaching, he's a talk out. When it comes to that one, that is great. But so when we're at home, he likes it quiet. He likes it when it's just everywhere is calm. I just like noise. I don't like it when everywhere is quiet and all that. So I go ahead and look for his trouble. I go and look for trouble. I make sure he talks. I make sure I pull his ear or just do one thing or the other so that there can be a bit of activity or noise around the house. And if we don't turn that into fun, it might become an issue. So what I do is, when I feel like everything is too quiet, I just say something that I know that will trigger him. And then one day he looked at me and said, "You're a problem child." I said, "I know." That's what attracted you to me in the first place. Because we're opposites. We attracted each other because back then when we were dating, I would just do all the talking and he just be looking at me and listening. And I love that about him. Now I don't like the fact that he listens. I don't like the fact that he's quiet. I want him to also talk like I'm talking, but it's not going to work like that. So what do? I turn it into something playful. When it's time like that, he knows. And he just indulge me for a while. And when I know I'm pushing it too far, I also excuse myself. But that's why the balance is. What attracted us to each other begins to repel us from each other if care is not taken. How do we handle such things? Maturity. Maturity has to come to play. When you notice that your partner is beginning to complain about a particular thing, balance it. And there's time, let me teach you something. When you now make that thing scarce again, they begin to desire it. The moment you see that, okay, so you have plenty of this thing, that was what attracted you, and then you get married, there's still plenty is complaining, just withdraw it a bit. Just give it a bit of scarcity, and then they begin to miss it, and then just bring it back again. And you're bending one for the other. When you move a bit, I move a bit. That's what makes marriage work. One person cannot just say this is the way, and the two both has to go that way. That's what it is for the left time.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break.
You're welcome to Vantage Church, a Colosseum with a clear-cut mandate to keep the saints with faith relevant for today's living. Our mission to raise a body of believers who are led by the Spirit and aren't bound to any religious notions is our passion. We're committed to an out-of-the-box Christianity and empowerment to a life of impact and relevance. We invite you to join any of our services, our worship services on Sunday by 10 a.m. At Providence Court beside Coca-Cola, Mokola, Ibadan.
We proclaim to you the good news today.
You're welcome back to today's episode on Naked and Unashamed.
Don't kill your spouse's star. you know, because being themselves is what makes them feel alive. That is when they are them.
Yeah.
And trying to pretend to be otherwise is like taking somebody's arm and twisting it in an awkward position at the back. And you expect them to still be smiling or to want to stay around you when they know that the moment they leave your presence, you can let go of their hand.
Yeah.
So that's what usually happens when couples begin to resent one the other. So when my wife was talking, she was hypothetically saying that if the man is the funny one, well, it's not always the man.
Yeah, it could be the woman.
It could be the woman. So basically, you have to be careful not to kill your spouse's star. In the scenario we're talking about if somebody is more lively or more jovial or more funny or funnier than the other person, what usually happens is this. Because that person is the life of the party. So everybody looks forward to them being at work. So everybody appreciates them. And there's something natural about human beings. We gravitate towards the place where we're appreciated.
Yeah.
So he gravitates or she gravitates towards their fans. Your spouse will gravitate. Human beings naturally will gravitate towards our fans. We stay away from people that tolerate us. So the person begins to want to be out of your space. And that's where problems begin in marriage. There's a principle. The principle states that if a lizard should enter through the crack in the wall, don't blame the lizard. Blame the crack. Lizards don't enter through cracks unless there's one. If there was no crack, the lizard would have nowhere to enter through. The lizard did not make the crack. The crack was already existing. The lizard simply exploited an opportunity. If it was not a lizard, it would have been a wall gecko. If it was not a wall gecko, it would have been a cockroach or a snake. But something will exploit it. Now, there are times when there are lizards, snakes, and cockroaches and ball geckos around your spouse. You understand what I'm saying? But yeah, and they want to enter through the cracks in the wall.
That you created.
The cracks were the emptiness, the voids that you have created, and nature naturally averts vacuum. Something will fill that space.
Yeah.
So instead of attacking that person, why did you create the scenario in the first place? If the scenario did not exist, those people will not come about. The people that want to take your spouse in quote from you. Sir, are you pushing your spouse towards them? Let me tell you something. Everybody gravitates towards what gives them fun. Everybody. Even God says that in your presence there's fullness of joy. At my right hand side, there are pleasures forevermore. So even God says it's joy and pleasure that I'm offering. Anytime your spouse doesn't have joy and pleasure around you, you become burdensome to them. You become wearisome to them. When they're around you, they can't breathe. Help, I can't breathe. They feel a lack of oxygen. Don't be that person. And many times, we fall into these roles, we don't intend to do it. It's not intentional. It's because we have not learned the other ways of getting these things done. We have not come to embrace that, hey, there's a better way. There's a highway to getting these results. So we have to be careful not to be the one or find ourselves in that position where we're resenting the true person our spouses are and constantly pushing them outside.
You know, when it comes to pushing your spouse away, there are times when you do it unconsciously.
Yeah.
And that's why we're talking about it now, so that you can guard against such things. How do you unconsciously push your spouse away? By words, by actions, let me say it like this. You make comments that will make the person look like a fool. You make comments that make the person crawl back into their shell. You know the way a snail will crawl back into its shell when it's touched or when you put salt on it. It just crawls back. You want to see that there is a withdrawal symptom with your spouse. Please go after that person and begin to ask questions. What is happening? What's up? What did I do wrong? Is there anything going on? Should we talk about it? Don't use silence to face silence. When there's a silence, let one of the spouse come up and say, what's happening? Can we talk about it? No, this is not you. You are getting too quiet. Can we talk? Why? Because that person is gradually crawling back into their shell, into his or her shell. And when they get back into that shell and they lock the door, to open that door, well, it takes a while. So don't allow each other to crawl into your shells. Bring each other out. When you're seeing that the person is gravitating towards silence, withdrawal, begin to attract that person back. Begin to ask questions. Can we talk about it? Go out on a date. Do fun things together. Push each other back out there. One is to excite you about each other. Begin to review and reactivate those things. Begin to bring those things back to life. Like, tell stories of when you were together, while you were dating, while you just got married, the mistakes you made, the things that happened, so that you can bring back good memories. And those things will help you reignite the fire in your marriage. Withdrawal symptoms is not a good sign. Withdrawal symptoms is not a good sign. Crawling back into your shell is not a good sign. The moment that person crawls back, believe me, at the end of that shell, another person is waiting. Another thing, it could be the laptop, it could be the phone, it could be colleagues, it could be work, it could be anything. It's taking that space, and you don't want that to happen. So please guard against each other withdrawal symptoms. The moment you see it, please attack it and work towards it and work on it.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. We'd like to intimate you with our online platform where we have an amazing list of events to bless you every week. You can join us for prophetic prayers every Monday to Wednesday by 6 a.m. where we connect to God's blessings. Every Tuesday is our special couples session by 7 p.m. where we talk about every area of marriage, relationship, finances, and children. On Wednesday, we have our midweek Bible study by 7 p.m. to help us grasp the deeper understanding of the things of God. You can join any of these awesome live sessions at Yinka Adeleke on Facebook and Instagram. Simply search Yinka.Adeleke on Facebook, Yinka_Adeleke on Instagram. You can also search for Yinka Adeleke on YouTube for amazing and insightful messages covering every subject. You can also enjoy reruns of all our Naked and Not Ashamed sessions on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube every Friday by 8 p.m. You'll surely be blessed. You're welcome back to today's episode on Naked and Not Ashamed.
Opposites attract. And yeah. You have to understand that being human, we have some natural tendencies. They are like gravity. They are like these scenarios whereby you are rolling up the stream, and the stream or the current of the stream is constantly trying to push you down the hill. So that means that it takes effort. So you have to ensure you are never on auto drive. Because when you're on auto drive, you're not conscious. And you don't even see when you're doing what you're doing. When you're on auto drive, you don't see the consequences that you're creating gaps and spaces between the other, and they're pushing away each other. So you have to fight those things. You remember last week I was telling you about myself being a professional publisher, and many times having to sit down with people, and do obituaries and all that. You know what's always interesting, especially if it ever comes to loved ones, they begin to miss what they were fighting about that person. Can you imagine a scenario whereby a spouse is constantly on edge because their partner snores? So they constantly complain about this snoring problem, this snoring issue. Guess what? If that person should even just travel, you almost can't sleep. Why? You're missing the snoring after a long time. You're missing the snoring. You're missing that thing about them that you felt was what you were resenting. So what am I telling you? Many a times we see people better in their absence. Many a times we value something more when it is not present, in its absence. We value something more. You know what they say about the grass being greener on the other side? Well, have you ever thought about it? There's never the other side. Because the other side is just simply the other side of where you're standing.
Yeah.
The moment you change and you relocate to the other side that was your other side, then your side becomes the other side. The grass will always be greener on the side that is not yours.
Yeah.
That's where wisdom comes to play.
Exactly.
Where you can look at your spouse through the proper eyes and realize and value and appreciate what you have. Because then you begin to realize that, hey, this is what other people are seeing. And you see, part of what makes it challenging, remember last week we talked about naked and not ashamed. Part of what makes it challenging, you know all their errors. People outside do not know.
Exactly.
So people outside will always want to attract, always want them to be, always want to attract them. Yes. They always want it to be around them because they don't know the other side.
Yeah.
They always say that any house, no matter how fine or beautiful or how well built it is, always looks finer from a distance.
Yeah.
Anything you come closer, the closer you become, the more you see blemishes, because blemishes are part of life. So, but those people outside are not seeing all of that. That's why at times you see people will fall for the people in their workplaces. Because before they left home, they were feeling like, I just need to breathe.
Exactly.
I just need to escape from this place. And at times the spouses make it even more challenging when we're talking about this. One of these weeks we're going to talk about issues of extramarital affairs and cheating. We'll get there. What is at times a bit of a challenge is the fact that this person you begin to take them for granted. That's something about human beings. We only value something when we don't have it. The more we have it, the less we value it. So, when people go window shopping, and people are going window shopping and you just saw one bag or you saw one shoe and you felt like, God, give me this shoe or I die. wait until you get the shoe or wait until you get the bag. Then it becomes the next bag. But your spouse can never become the next spouse. So you have to constantly be fighting that natural syndrome of humanity whereby we don't appreciate what we have. We keep looking at what the other person has. So in the scenario that I was talking about whereby you become complacent. You start to take one another for granted. You begin to put in little effort to attract each other. So you wear the wig to look beautiful outside to people that don't matter. You get home and you remove the wig, remove the makeup, and you don't really care how you look. I'm not saying wear makeup at home or wear the wig at home, but I'm saying that don't become careless. Don't take your spouse for granted, feeling like, oh, well, we thank God, we have come, we have seen, we have contact. They will always be here. Listen, if your spouse, if they have enough integrity, and if they have the fear of God in them, they will never cheat on you, but that's with another person. They can always cheat on you with something else. It could be work, it could be leisure, it could be anything. It could even be ministry. At times, some pastors are having an affair with the church because they don't have time for their own spouse. They're another person's spouse. Whose spouse? God's spouse. That's what the church is. So every time that you take your spouse for granted, every time that you don't appreciate what you have, they begin to resent being around you.
So we're not going to resent each other. We're not going to allow that to happen. Rather than resenting one another, we're going to accommodate one another. We're going to work on each other. We're going to speak about the things that we love, the things that we don't love. We're going to allow ourselves to be each other's company, each other's love mate. We're going to reignite the love. We're going to reignite the passion. We're going to block every wall that any wall gecko or anything can crawl into. And there's something about the marriage bed being undefiled. There's something about you adding value to yourself every day and making each other more attractive one to the other. There's something about you playing, like, the Bible says that you should love the person like the wife of your youth. You know, when you were younger, there's a particular way you love each other. You couldn't get enough of one another. You couldn't get enough of your spouse. Why? Because he's still shacking you. We need to allow our marriage to shack us once again. We need to look at your spouse and just breathe and just desire him or her and just want more of them. And see, this takes a process. It takes working on. Because over time, you might get tired of one another. You might get used to, there is a law of see finish. You might feel like, what is there to say again? I've seen it all. I've had it all. But how about to reignite it? And you know how the best way to do that? Leave everything, leave everyone, leave the children, go somewhere and be alone for a while. It doesn't have to be somewhere expensive. Go to your village. Just go somewhere. Go to a friend's house. Maybe they are not around. Let them give you the whole house to yourself. Be naked and not be ashamed. Just enjoy each other's coming once again. Ignite the love and make sure that the fire, the marriage love, the marriage fire is burning stronger. Because if it's not better, it can die.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break.
You're welcome to join us this Sunday at Vantage Center by 10 a.m. for a family experience you would never forget. We look forward to receiving you.
You're welcome back to today's episode on Naked and Not Ashamed.
Okay, so it's been a fantastic time today. It's been a fantastic time going over this subject, looking at this truth, and helping us to come to a place where we just realize that there are some things about humanity that we need to constantly fight. There are some things about humanity that are a challenge that we need to be conscious about. Don't take for granted the person that you have. Do not attack what used to attract you or what you were once attracted to, because there will always be the other person. There will always be somebody somewhere that values what you think you're having too much of. So even when it feels like it's too much, remember that opposites attracted for a reason, to balance out the equilibrium. It always feels like it's too much when you are not also expressing yourself or putting yourself out there, but you're hiding. If you don't hide and everybody brings to the table what is then you begin to see the balances. You begin to balance out one the other. Yes, your seriousness becomes balanced by that joviousness. And while we're on the subject, at times somebody is more outgoing than the other person. So somebody is more outgoing, another person is, wants to stay at home. And you usually will see, especially for people that are outgoing, especially if they are men, they look forward to that quiet person that will be homely, that will stay at home. And that's for people that have a certain level of maturity. Because at times, these millennials, when you are telling them, how about this person? Do you like this person? They say, pastor, he or she is too homely. I'm always thinking, what in heaven's name do they mean by that? That's supposed to be a good thing. Hello. But you have to understand that there is a catch after marriage. Because that person that always wants to stay at home starts becoming boring. And you that always wants to go out there, you're looking for the excitement, you're looking for the fun, and you can always try and find that fun and that excitement elsewhere and outside. But understand, nobody will ever be able to replace your family. There's nothing that will ever be able to replace your family. You see, in life, there are other things that you can juggle, and all those things you're juggling them, but always remember, they are not breakable. The only ball out of all the ones that you're juggling is just one, and it's family, and it's breakable. Meaning that if every other thing falls, if work falls, you pick it up. Your friends, they fall, you pick it up. Business falls, career falls, you pick it up. If family falls, you might have nothing to pick up. And if you eventually do get to pick it up, it might never be what it was. You might mend it, you might glue it, you might even find all the missing pieces and put it together. But the crack will always be there to remind you that what was once whole is now fractured.
He said, don't attack what you attract. What was once attractive to you, you're beginning to attack it. Please, let's watch out for those things. Let's watch out for those things, because that's that person. You can't change the person overnight. You can't stop the person from being who he or she is. Can we just allow each other to love each other the way we are, and just help each other to become better at whatever it is that we love about ourselves and what we do?
We would love your comments to come in. We would love to hear your feedback. And we also love to hear your questions, so we can know exactly what areas to address. So until next week, be naked and not ashamed.